Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I am John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. A good topic for you today. Let's do it. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen? Please remember to like, share, hype, and subscribe. I lost everything in a condo fire last month. We got off work early. I worked third shift and went to bed. Woke up surrounded by smoke. I was able to get my cat and dog out, but if I didn't get off early that day, it would have been a different story. I lost everything due to my neighbor's negligence. Still trying to recover. My sister's psychotic break last year, a few days after someone tried to mug me. I watched her try to kill my brother, watched her growling at the washing machine, watched her unable to speak English or stop speaking. I watched her hallucinate, cover her face in blankets and try to choke herself. Those weeks were fucking awful. She's better now, but I'm not. Burnt out is a fucking understatement. Don't skip sleep, guys. And the second you realize you aren't sleeping, take steps to make sure you do. It's vital. Watching my wife almost bleed out and die giving birth, massive hemorrhage post-delivery, 1,000 milliliters of blood out in a short amount of time, suddenly 10 people around her, bags of blood being squeezed, medicines being injected. She's upside down as they are desperately trying to keep her brain perfused. Blood pressure of 60/40. Thank goodness we were in a good hospital. We were there for 10 days, but she was okay. Ended up with a total hysterectomy when the bleeding would not stop. She was given 6 units of blood total by the end of it. While staying in an old hospital turned barracks, didn't find this out until later, turned Airbnb, my husband had his second night terror. He sat bolt upright and bellowed, "You get away from her," looking over to my side of the bed. He looked ready to kill. I was fucking petrified and scrambled for the lamp, knocking several things to the floor. He was shocked awake and gradually came to, then vividly described a man in red regimentals reaching for me. His initial night terror was on our first night in our home together. Nothing but bush outside, fairly isolated from neighbors. Same thing, "You get away from her." Came to and told me an old lady was trying to climb in the window on my side above my head. A man attacked me with a screwdriver when I was a barista. It was 5:30 a.m., so it was just us 3 small female baristas in the store. He told me he was going to puncture me and eat pieces of me. I tried to talk him down. My second job was social work at the time, but he was really in his mind, and I was absolutely terrified. Luckily, one of our regulars came in right as I was jumping the counter. He immediately assessed the situation. Screwdriver guy was literally screaming at me, my coworker screaming at him and throwing everything she can grab at him. I'm bawling and screaming on our drive-through mic for anyone to call 911. The regular fist fought this screwdriver guy for might be the fried chicken man and saved my life that morning. He to everyone else, but he'll always be my hero. Being stalked by a former client who was 6'3", 250, trained as a boxer, and had just been released from prison after serving 3 years for throwing someone into the trunk of a car to rob him of his jewelry. He followed me home from work one day. I had no idea. I used to live nearby my office and would walk home most days. So one day he drove past my house while I was outside, working in the yard. I thought maybe it was a coincidence. He began calling my work and told them he loved me. He would text my work cell, same thing. Then one day I got him on speaker with my supervisor as a witness, and he told them he was a demigod and whatever he wanted he could have. He also said he was made of bionic metal parts inside and couldn't be harmed. Come to find out, he was smoking PCP at the time. Then he went to some scumbag lawyer and tried to sue me, my supervisor, and the company, saying I R'd him. I'm 5'1", by the way, 150. My company was forced to open an investigation. He showed up at my house one evening, knocked on the door, and my children answered. I'm a single parent, by the way. I've never felt so truly full of anxiety and fear in my life. He tried to return to my office numerous times. I had to live in literal terror every day of my life over a 2 to 3 year period until we found out he was back in jail for a parole violation, although he's back out now. He threatened me, my safety, my employment, my reputation in my field. He took any feelings of psychological safety that I had, even when at home, even now 3 years later. I still think I see him in public. When you're dealing with an insane and violent sociopath, there is no safety, and there is really no one to protect you either. I was my brother's best man and forgot the ring. I patted my breast pocket just as we were getting ready to go in and immediately felt the ground fall out from under me. Everyone was there. My family, friends, the officials. It was all going to be ruined, and it was all my fault. Managed to get back to the hotel and grab the ring, sprinted back, and turned out the bride was running 15 minutes late anyway. Disaster averted, but I've never felt that sense of absolute despondency before or since. My parents had me legally kidnapped and sent to an abusive wilderness in Utah when I was 16. I was a kid raised on true crime, so someone breaking in to kidnap me was legitimately one of my biggest fears. And then to find out that my parents were the ones who did it to me compounded that fear. I haven't been able to step foot in an airport close to a decade, and it caused me to develop paranoid OCD. Living rurally in 2013, there were rumors of someone getting around on a dirt bike during the midnight hours and robbing people's sheds of guns and other valuables, small items. I'd sometimes hear such a bike in the distance before I went to bed at around 11 p.m. One night, I was lying in bed unable to sleep at about 1 a.m. There was a lot of gravel on the concrete patio outside my room from potting cacti over the years. I'd been hearing crunching outside my room once or twice a month for a while, but always brushed it off as animals. This time was different. My bed was positioned right underneath the window, and I had a mirror against the opposing wall. I heard a couple of muffled crunches, then an old metal torch clicked on. It reflected in the mirror as it scanned my room left to right, making it impossible to see who was out there. I was lying right underneath its beam the whole time. I'm not sure if the torch's owner saw me because of how methodically they looked around my room. After about 20 seconds of lying dead still, the torch clicked off and was followed by the sound of boots cautiously walking over the loose gravel. What really gets me is that the other side of the house was lit up by my brother and father in different rooms, as well as the kitchen lights being on the whole time. This mysterious person was bold enough to snoop around a clearly active house at such a time. My father and brother didn't believe me, but I'll never forget the sound of the torch and its light passing over me. I don't know if it was the alleged dirt bike bandit, but there was no more instances of footsteps in the gravel outside my room after that. Maybe they just didn't see anything that took their fancy. I was bartending part-time at a local hangout, only bartender on that night. Regular would always flirt with me. I'm married with kids, which I made clear. He was a former football player, 6'6", a good 300 pounds. I'm not tiny, 5'8", but no match for him. I closed up alone until I see him running out of the bathroom toward me. He waited and hid in there until everyone was gone, and I locked the doors. He grabbed me by my shoulders and said he was going to take me. I calmly told him he wouldn't get away with this and would ruin his life. Did everything I could to calm him and dissuade him. He broke down and cried and apologized. I walked him out the door and immediately locked it. Absolutely terrifying. It's a great job with de-escalation. I mean, I bartended for decades, and although I'm a guy, I've seen some wild behavior. Alcohol does some crazy things to some people. I'm glad you were able to get him out, and whether he remembers or not, I hope he found a new bar to go to, because that's unacceptable. My smiling wife, while I was drowning in the sea. It was night and I was drinking with friends and my wife. We had a veranda facing the sea. There was a storm. In the midst of the fun, I told everyone I needed to go to the bathroom, and upon returning, I decided to go out to the pier. No one knew I was going there, a stupid idea, because a wave washed over the pier and I was swept out to sea, hitting my head on a concrete beam and starting to drown. Joking, I couldn't scream, and I saw my wife, but she didn't see me. She was having fun and laughing. I was scared, not because I was about to die, but because I wouldn't see her again, and because she would be in so much pain. I tried to swim, but the shore didn't come any closer. Every new wave pushed me back, but I pulled myself together, and with the last bit of strength began to paddle. When you're on the brink of death, the body can produce astonishing strength. I emerged from the sea in tears, naked. My clothes had come off in the water, and covered in blood, a cut head, scratched arms and legs. I drowned my apartment keys and an expensive watch, but I survived, and I think it was thanks to my wife. I simply couldn't make her suffer. The Black Sea kills 85 people a year, half of whom are never found. When I was a young mom and my husband was away training, I woke up to a really loud scraping sound downstairs. I'd never been more scared than when I walked down the stairs to investigate. It happened to be our husky tearing a door apart and not a murderer or demon. OMG, in my 46 years, many and lots of them were dealing with strange-ass people. With all that being said, I think the scariest for me was when my hood popped open while I was on a road going south in the rain at about 2:30 a.m., alone with nothing except woods on both sides of me. No lights, no other traffic, and my phone had no signal. Got bit by a spider. We call them fiddlebacks, brown recluse to the northerners. Got me right on the muscly part of my forearm. First 3 days were not great but survivable. Constant chills and sweats, swelling at bite sites. At this point I'm sure I can tough it out. Day 4 and 5 things progress. I'm feverish and my arm is in constant pain. Day 6 I'm starting to think I may lose my arm just from the pain. Swelling is pretty bad and the bite site has turned black. Day 7 I finally seek emergency medical intervention. I'm starting to think I could die. I go to the doctor who takes a quick look, does a small incision to take a sample for testing, and starts me on triple antibiotics. Day 8. Pain is still as high as ever. Not safe for work. I bend my arm to look at the bite site, and all sorts of necrotic tissue and congealed blood burst from it. No squeeze, just from the positioning of my arm. The pain is so bad I lose consciousness and drop to the floor. I come to and turbo puke into the toilet. I'm in my bathroom, clean up whatever's coming out of my arm, and go to sleep covered in sweat. Day 9 I'm in pain, but getting more confident that I'll make it out of this without serious damage. Not safe for work, I go for the squeeze for the first time, and something the size and consistency of a banana slug emerges from my arm. I get very woozy from the pain but maintain consciousness. Day 10, the first day the wound is not completely disgusting, and the first day I take a picture of the situation for posterity. Just drained what remained of the banana slug and got on with my day. Day 11, there's a hole in my arm that looks like someone took a hole punch to my skin. I should say 2 holes. This is the first time since day 1 I can clearly see 2 separate injection sites. Beneath the bite is a single empty cavern. Day 12, more drainage, but no longer swollen, looking less red. At this point it takes on a normal healing pattern and begins to resemble any other injury. I finish the day certain there is no more venom or necrotic tissue inside the wound. Going forward, I tend to it and replace bandages as I would any common cut or puncture. All in all, would not recommend. I've been bit by just about everything my local ecosystem has to offer, but that venom was a magnitude above anything else I've experienced. 'Tis the season. They're mating now, so watch your back. In 2018, a tornado went through my house. I had just gotten out of the shower. Roommate scrambled to where my bedroom and bathroom was to bring me some clothes and shoes. He ended up grabbing his military uniform and boots for me, LMAO. My part of the house was hit the hardest. I'm terrified of storms now. The worst part was hours later, looters came and tried getting into all of the houses that got hit. Back in 2007, I was working out of town and my hotel was about 1 mile from a local theater. The movie The Mist had just come out, so I made a late night decision to walk to the theater and catch the last show of the night, which started at around 9 p.m. This was late summer, and it got dark around 9:30, but the way was well lit, so I wasn't concerned. The early evening was warm and clear. I got out of the theater around 11:30ish, and as soon as I exited the building was overcome by the thickest fog I'd ever seen. I live in Washington State, and our fog gets pretty thick on account of being so close to the Pacific Ocean. I then had to walk 1 mile in this dense fog, only lit by the arc sodium orange parking lot lights. Now, I'm not a child. I know the movie was make-believe, but that walk took longer than any other walk in my life, and I was certain I was going to be swallowed by a giant tentacled hell beast any second. Not as extreme as most of these, but I suffer from both uncontrollable movement and paralysis, and these can happen simultaneously. One night when I was 5, this caused me to have spasms that left my head trapped between the little barrier in my bed, then unable to get out of it. Thankfully, it happened very shortly before my dad was doing his usual midnight checkup on me. But I'll never forget the panic in his voice, him switching from the typical just adjusting me a bit and asking if I needed to use the bathroom, to this frantic panicking and running toward me, where he just kept repeating, "No, no, no." He snapped the barrier of me with one hand in his fear. The rest of the night, he just held me and kept rocking back and forth, just repeating, "So close, we were so close." I fell asleep not too long after, but when I woke up, I was still with him. He told me years later, that he couldn't sleep, that the so close part wasn't just my life in that moment. It's because we almost got me to school. My parents were told, with my condition, not to expect me to see my first birthday, much less a first day of school. But I'd gotten to 5 years old. He was about to see me hit the milestone I was never supposed to reach, and that's what made it even worse. That he knew it was a possibility. It's why he did the night checks. But that was such a close call, it usually didn't get that bad. With so little time to save me, since he was so scared it'd go that bad and he broke the bed, he kept me with him in the living room for a week. We couldn't afford to replace the bed, but our church pulled together and got me one. No barriers this time. Dad just angled it where it shouldn't fall, but left a gap if I got pushed to the corner again to breathe. And that's how it was for the rest of my life. I still use my bed that way. And while the losing the ability to breathe was scary, it's Dad's fear I remember most. It's usually him being all sleepy, just a routine thing, then tucked me back into bed. But the fear of what he saw that time, even as a little girl, I couldn't just feel it more than my own. Being woken up in sleep paralysis and high by my ex freaking out at me, screaming at me and my partner, breaking things and being generally violent to us and himself. I had to wait until I could move to get out of that house. And it was just one of the worst nights of my life, honestly. He still blames me for all of it and calls me abusive for calling a wellness check on him after leaving. He threatened to kill himself and make my partner find his body when we came back right before we left. Was sitting in the living room watching South Park with my wife. Suddenly a beam of light came from the ceiling and engulfed the room in bright white light. As bone light. There are no light sources above us. No windows, no second floor above us, nothing. It was like a nuke went off and blinded me for a solid 2 seconds. I thought you was having some eye issue, but my wife turned to me and said, "What the was that?" We tried to figure out what it could be, but can't. It's been maybe 4 months. Everything I see online says angels, fairies, and aliens. I don't really believe in any of that, but aliens sounds the coolest, so I went with that. Giving birth. I remember I needed vacuum assistance and episiotomy after 4 hours of pushing and dealing with horrible care team. The epidural didn't work on one side. I felt everything. I had a major panic attack when the vacuum failed twice and was given an episiotomy without my consent. Then my daughter was born gray, not crying, no movement. She was just whisked away to the NICU cart in the room. My husband went with her. I was left alone. I kept blacking out and couldn't see anything. She finally cried. Relief, but so much fear and pain. She's a happy and healthy almost 2.5-year-old now. I'm still not okay while thinking about this. I definitely have PTSD from it. About 20 years ago, we had just moved into our house. One night my wife was staying with her mom, who had just recently had cataract surgery, so I was home alone. Our dog woke me up around 3 a.m. looking to go out, which wasn't totally uncommon. I staggered out of bed and opened the back door to let him out. I'm standing on the back porch when I start hearing this guttural, almost demonic growling and breathing sound. Now I'm firmly in the suburbs, and there aren't any animals in the area that would make this kind of sound. I got my dog inside as quickly as possible, ran in, locked the doors, and hid under my blankets like a little kid. Flipped two assholes in a pickup truck off after they about ran me off the road not paying attention. I'm female, and I was 22 at the time, 1980, and road rage wasn't a topic of the news or conversation much back then. Those guys burned rubber to follow me for at least a couple of miles, and it was terrifying. They were yelling shit the whole time, and the only place I knew in that neighborhood was Peach's record store. So I did the shortest, sharpest right turn into their parking lot, turned off my car, and ran into the store. The clerks could totally tell by my demeanor how frightened I was, and let me know the truck had just roared out of the parking lot as soon as I flung the door open. I was on a chainsaw crew in the Rocky Mountains and were felling log pole pine trees infected with parasitic plant called dwarf mistletoe. We had this absolutely massive hog on the side of a hill we needed to get rid of, so big I could not wrap my arms around it. Anyway, I was spotting the sawyer cutting the tree down when the wind changed direction opposite the direction we were trying to fell it. The top half of the tree leaned the other way and trapped the chainsaw in the back cut of the tree, and there was no way we were getting it out. When someone else arrived with another chainsaw, the wind blew just enough, and this big-ass tree that was easily over 60 feet tall started falling the wrong way and twisted toward us and slammed down to my left. But we were on a hill, so that fallen tree started to roll down the hill, and thankfully the top was mostly dead branches, so I cleared it, but I had to take a break for like half an hour after to collect myself. My best friend, who became my boyfriend, he was a black belt in karate and super funny and outgoing. Everyone loved him, including me. He had a psychotic break one night as we were sitting amongst his pictures and trophies, literally dozens on shelves and walls, just chit-chatting. He started being extremely weird, talking to himself and answering in different voices. I excused myself to the bathroom thinking, what the And he broke down the door, jumped on the toilet and started unscrewing the vents, saying, "Tell your FBI buddies good luck," and socked me square in the mouth and nose and started screaming at me to call for backup. He held me hostage for 13 hours, pacing back and forth, growling at me. I eventually made a run for it, and he yanked me backwards by the hair and dragged me down a hallway. He grabbed a ball-peen hammer from the cabinet and told me to say goodbye to my teeth, and promptly passed the f*** out. I'd never been so scared in my life. I ran to my car, which was of course parked in a cul-de-sac, and I had to turn around, and he was standing in the middle of the street with a closet pole, and I decided it was him or me. Gunned it. He smacked my windshield with the pole, shattering it as I slammed on the brakes. He jerked the passenger door open and jumped on top of me, gripping me around the shoulders and neck, crying and rocking me back and forth, saying, "This isn't me! Please don't leave me!" I told him it was okay and we were fine. He asked me to promise him everything was okay. I did and drove away. He did 3 years in prison, and I've had 2 surgeries on my face to repair the damage he did. Scariest part? I watched his eyes turn from honey brown to black before he lost his mind.